Chapter 3. The Manufactured Depression System. The best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves. Vladimir Lenin. Once you understand that thoughts create depression, the next logical question is, where do these depressive thoughts come from? Picture a factory with smokestacks billowing dark clouds into the atmosphere. Now imagine that factory is designed not to produce goods, but to produce specific thoughts and emotions. That factory exists, and it's operating 24/7, pumping depressive content directly into your consciousness. The uncomfortable truth is that most depressive thoughts are manufactured, deliberately designed, and systematically delivered to us through what I call the manufactured depression system. This isn't some conspiracy theory, it's a business model. Depression and anxiety are profitable. Happy, content people don't consume as much. They don't need as many products, services, medications, or distractions. The modern economy literally depends on people feeling inadequate, anxious, and constantly wanting more. The NTV Cribs revelation. The medium is the message. Marshall McLuhan. Let me give you a perfect example that opened my eyes. Remember MTV Cribs? I kind of watched that show religiously, too many episodes over the years. It took me several years after the fact to realize what that show had actually done to my mind. I can still remember the feeling, lying on my couch, watching celebrities tour their massive mansions, their fleets of luxury cars, their walk-in closets bigger than my entire apartment. Each episode left me with a hollow ache in my chest, a sense of inadequacy that would linger for days. NTV Cribs did nothing for me but instill jealousy, a sense of lack, and "I'll never have that" thoughts into my head. This is pure raw depression ingredients, and it should almost be illegal when you really think about it, because it's psychologically damaging. The show didn't teach you how to obtain those great things and homes, it just flaunted them in your face. Episode after episode, the message was clear. This is what success looks like, and you don't have it. No instruction manual, no pathway to achievement, just endless exposure to what you lacked. After watching countless episodes of celebrities showing off their mansions, cars, and luxury items, I was left feeling broke, unsuccessful, and inadequate. That's not entertainment. That's manufactured depression delivered directly to your living room. And MTV Cribs is just one example. Once I recognized this pattern, I started seeing it everywhere. Insight box. The manufactured lack formula. Show you what you don't have. Don't explain how to get it. Repeat until inadequacy feels normal. Sell you temporary relief through consumption. The advertising depression machine. Advertising is the art of making whole lies out of half-truths. Edgar A. Schuerf. Beautiful women are used to advertise products to men, creating impossible standards and constant dissatisfaction. Social media shows everyone's highlight reels, while you're living your behind-the-scenes reality. Rap music often glorifies violence, materialism, and toxic relationships. News media profits from fear, anger, and division. Turn on any screen, and within minutes you'll be exposed to people more attractive than you, lifestyles more luxurious than yours, relationships more perfect than yours, and problems more terrifying than yours. This isn't accidental, it's engineered. All of this content is intelligently designed to make you feel like something is wrong with your life, like you're missing out, like you need to buy something or become someone different to be happy. Think about it. When was the last time you watched something that made you feel genuinely content with your life exactly as it is? When was the last time you consumed media that left you feeling peaceful, grateful, and at ease. Compare that to how often you consume content that makes you want something you don't have, fear something that might happen, or feel bad about yourself in some way. The contrast test. The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. Gloria Steinem. Here's how I know the difference between manufactured and authentic emotional content. Recently, I was watching a YouTube video of a guy traveling to foreign countries, poor countries, sitting down with people, hearing their stories, and helping them in small ways that he could. That content made me instantly feel something strange but pleasant in my chest, that made my throat tighten and almost made me tear up, but it all felt amazingly good. It was like my heart was expanding, connecting with something real and meaningful. That's the difference. Real human connection, genuine compassion, authentic stories of people helping each other. This creates authentic emotional responses that feel nourishing, even when they're intense. Manufactured content creates hollow emotions, jealousy, inadequacy, fear, anger, that feel draining and create a craving for more stimulation. The two types of content. Authentic content leaves you feeling inspired or peaceful, connects you to real human experiences, nourishes your soul, even if it makes you cry, makes you want to be a better person. Manufactured content leaves you feeling inadequate or afraid, disconnects you from your own life, drains your energy while demanding more attention, makes you want to buy something or escape. The addiction economy cycle. The secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Socrates. The powers that be don't just create depressing content by accident. They know exactly what they're doing. They've studied human psychology, they understand dopamine loops, and they've designed an entire economy around keeping people mentally off balance. Here's how the cycle works. Create stress and inadequacy through media, advertising, and social pressure. Offer temporary relief through consumption, entertainment, and substances. The relief wears off, and the person feels worse than before. Repeat the cycle with more products, more entertainment, more substances. It's like a drug dealer who creates the addiction, then sells the cure, then creates stronger addiction, then sells a stronger cure. The goal isn't to heal you, it's to keep you dependent. This is why people are basically forced into seeking things that will later become addictions. The jobs are miserable, the hours are long, the pay is low, and the work is meaningless. Of course, people turn to entertainment, food, sex, materialistic gains, or substances to cope. But these coping mechanisms eventually become part of the problem. The tale of two depressions. We are the first generation to be depressed in abundance. I'm known. There's something we need to acknowledge here. There's a massive difference between the Great Depression of 1929 and the depression epidemic we're experiencing today. During the Great Depression, people had legitimate reasons to feel hopeless. They watched their life savings evaporate overnight. Families lost their homes, their farms, their livelihoods. People literally didn't know where their next meal was coming from. Children went to bed hungry. Men who had worked their entire lives suddenly found themselves in breadlines. That was real depression, in response to real circumstances. When external reality becomes genuinely threatening to your survival, and everything you've worked for disappears, feeling depressed is a natural and appropriate response. But here's what's disturbing about our current situation. We're experiencing what I call abundance depression. We're living in the most materially prosperous time in human history, with more opportunities, more entertainment, more communication possibilities, and more resources available than any generation before us. Yet, depression rates are at all-time highs. This isn't coincidence, it's engineering. The difference is stark. 1929 depression. People were responding to real loss and genuine scarcity. 2025 depression. People are responding to manufactured inadequacy and artificial scarcity. During the Great Depression, people gathered together, supported each other, and found meaning in survival and community. Today, we're isolated, comparing ourselves to curated social media highlights, and feeling inadequate despite having more than kings and queens of previous centuries. The Great Depression ended when economic conditions improved. But our current depression epidemic persists despite continuously improving material conditions. Because it's not about actual circumstances, it's about manufactured mental programming designed to keep us consuming, complaining, and compliant. The real tragedy isn't that people were depressed during the Great Depression, it's that we're depressed during the Great Abundance, and we've been programmed not to notice the difference. The intelligence behind it. When tested, endure. When broken, learn. When honored, kneel. When free, love. Love capriccis. This isn't random. There are people paid very well to design systems that create depression, anxiety, and inadequacy. There are entire industries built around studying human psychology for the purpose of manipulation. Marketing departments employ neuroscientists. Social media companies hire former casino designers who understand addiction psychology. Entertainment executives study what triggers emotional responses and how to amplify them. Marketing departments, social media algorithms, product designers, entertainment executives, they all know exactly how to trigger specific emotional responses. They know how to make you feel like you're missing out, like you're not good enough, like you need what they're selling. The tragedy is that most of the people participating in this system don't even realize what they're doing. They think they're just doing their jobs, just creating content, just selling products. But they're actually agents of depression, participating in a system designed to keep people mentally unwell. It's like working in a tobacco factory in the 1950s. Everyone knew cigarettes were being made, but most workers didn't understand they were manufacturing lung cancer. Today's content creators are manufacturing depression with the same level of unconscious participation. The historical pattern. Big Tobacco parallel. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana. The parallels to Big Tobacco are exact. Just as tobacco companies knew cigarettes were addictive while publicly denying it, tech companies' own internal research shows they're deliberately creating addiction while claiming their platforms are safe. Documented evidence. Brown and Williamson, 1963. We are in the business of selling nicotine, an addictive drug. Internal memo. Philip Morris Research. Company knew cigarettes cause cancer while publicly denying it. Purdue Pharma, 2020. $8.3 billion settlement for deliberately addictive OxyContin marketing. Meta, 2021. Internal documents show Instagram harms teen mental health while publicly claiming safety. The pattern is identical. Create addiction, deny harm, suppress research, maximize profit, fight lawsuits, eventually pay settlements, then move to the next addictive product. Legal proof. Meta lawsuit evidence. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. Socrates. While I was writing this book about manufactured depression, Meta Facebook was being sued in federal court for doing exactly what I describe. intentionally designing addictive features that cause depression, anxiety, and self-harm in young people. Current legal facts. 41 state attorneys general are suing Meta for harmful and psychologically manipulative product features. Over 200 school districts are suing social media companies for mental health crisis costs. Internal Facebook research shows Instagram makes suicidal thoughts worse for 13.5% of teen girls. Frances Haugen's congressional testimony, 2021. Facebook knows Instagram is toxic for teen girls, and the company consistently chooses profit over public safety. This isn't my opinion. This is active federal litigation with internal company documents as evidence. The first trials are set for 2026, but the legal documents already prove that major corporations are deliberately creating mental illness for profit. Legal evidence box. Court documented facts. Meta faces federal lawsuits for addictive design causing teen depression. Internal research shows they knew Instagram harms mental health. Whistleblower testimony confirms profit over safety priorities. School districts suing for increased mental health costs. 200+ districts now part of litigation. The chemical imbalance theory debunked. Science is a way of thinking much more than it is a body of knowledge. Carl Sagan. The chemical imbalance theory has never been proven. Even the scientists who study brain chemistry will tell you that correlation isn't causation. Here's what we know. Depressed people often have different brain chemistry, but we don't know if the chemistry causes the depression, or if the depression, thoughts, feelings, causes the chemistry changes. Think about it. When you're scared, your body produces adrenaline. Did the adrenaline make you scared, or did being scared make your body produce adrenaline? My theory, consistently thinking depressing thoughts changes your brain chemistry. Change the thoughts, and the chemistry follows. Recent scientific evidence. The serotonin myth debunked. 2022 major review, Moncrief, J. et al. Molecular psychiatry. No evidence that depression is caused by lowered serotonin levels. Chemical imbalance theory was marketing, not science. Depression better explained by stress response than neurotransmitter deficiency. The evidence. People recover from depression through therapy, lifestyle changes, spiritual practices, and yes, sometimes medication. If it were purely chemical, only chemical solutions would work. Bottom line, even if there are biological factors, you still have to think the depressing thoughts. And if you have to think them, you can learn to think different ones. The minimum wage trap. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Jiddu Krishnamurti. I remember working at a call center where I had to answer the most ridiculous and dumbest questions all day, every day. I was miserable doing that. But the moment I was off work, I felt amazing. I could even be sleepy while at work, but as soon as I got off, I was up and ready to live again. The contrast was jarring. During work hours, it's like my life force was being slowly drained through a straw. My shoulders hunched, my breathing shallow, my thoughts grey. But the moment I clocked out, it's like someone flipped a switch and colour returned to the world. This wasn't natural tiredness. This was my life force being drained by meaningless mental labour. I honestly think 99% of minimum wage earners hate their jobs due to the stress, low pay, and complete lack of honor or meaning in what they do. The only people who like their work are people doing what they want to do and getting paid more than minimum wage. I don't know anybody in their right mind who would choose to work a minimum wage job their whole life and be happy with just that. So, it's the system by design. Create jobs that drain people's souls, pay them just enough to survive, then profit from selling them temporary relief from the misery you created. The soul-crushing cycle. The modern trap. Meaningless job drains your life force. Low pay keeps you trapped. Stress makes you seek escape. Escape becomes expensive addiction. Addiction requires more meaningless work. Cycle repeats until you break or break free. Breaking free from the matrix. The truth is not for all men, but only for those who seek it. Ayn Rand. Once you see this system clearly, you can't unsee it. Every advertisement becomes obvious manipulation. Every piece of fear-based news becomes transparent emotional manipulation. Every social media post becomes a potential trigger for comparison and inadequacy. It's like developing X-ray vision for psychological manipulation. What once seemed like innocent entertainment reveals itself as sophisticated weaponry designed to capture and monetize your attention. The good news is that awareness is the first step to freedom. When you understand how your emotions are being manipulated, you can start making conscious choices about what you allow into your mind. You can choose to observe inspiring materials like a YouTube video of someone helping people instead of MTV Cribs. To spend time in nature instead of scrolling through social media. To read something that elevates your consciousness instead of consuming fear-based news. To create instead of consume. To connect instead of compare. But first, you have to recognize that this is a choice. You have to understand that your depression isn't just a personal failing or a chemical imbalance. It's actually a healthy and rational response to a toxic environment designed to make you feel exactly this way. Because anyone who can sit back and watch or hear disturbing things and yet not feel disturbed is themselves disturbed. Freedom Choice Box. The Liberation Menu. Instead of consuming depression, you can choose content that inspires rather than triggers. Spend time in nature instead of on screens. Create art instead of consuming products. Build relationships instead of comparing lives. Serve others instead of serving corporations. The billion-dollar question. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it. Upton Sinclair. The system wants you to think the problem is inside you, so you'll buy their solutions. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is that you're a healthy person trying to live in a sick system? Imagine a fish swimming in polluted water, getting sick, and being told the problem is with the fish's biology rather than the toxic environment. That's exactly what's happening to human consciousness in our manufactured depression culture. Once you understand that, everything changes. You stop trying to fix yourself and start protecting yourself. You stop consuming depression and start creating wellness. You stop being a victim of the system and start being conscious of it. You stop funding your own oppression and start investing in your freedom. And that's when you begin to discover what mental health actually feels like. Chapter Summary. Key takeaways from Chapter 3. Depression is manufactured by design for profit, $280 plus billion industry. Media deliberately creates inadequacy to drive consumption. Social media platforms face federal lawsuits for addictive design. The pattern mirrors big tobacco's deliberate harm strategy. Your depression is a healthy response to a toxic system. Awareness allows you to choose different content and experiences. Reflection questions. What media content consistently makes you feel inadequate or afraid? How might your mood change if you eliminated manufactured depression sources? What would you create if you weren't constantly consuming? In the next chapter, we'll explore the practical system for interrupting depression in real time, the moment you catch those manufactured thoughts trying to take root in your mind.